Hey, it's your guy Tyrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze Kai Havertz's role in unlocking Ancelotti's tactical plan. When we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have Chelsea in a 3-4-2-1 that was somewhat of a 3-4-3 against Everton that dropped off into more of a 3-4-1-2. So first, we're going to break down how Everton looked to disrupt Chelsea from creating chances, and then we'll get to how Kai Havertz played a key role in Chelsea unlocking this Everton backline. So when we look at Everton, what you end up seeing is that they do have three men up top. You have Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison as the split strikers just ahead of Sigurdsson. And then Allan and Andre Gomes could step into the path of Jorginho and Kovacic, with Godfrey following Werner, Holgate stepping to Hudson-Odoi, and Keane tasked with Havertz. But one of the main tactical themes in this game was Chelsea's back five against Everton's front five, because James and Alonso pegged back Iwobi and Dean. And then what we ended up seeing was that Chelsea did have a 3v2 advantage ahead of Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. That's where Sigurdsson played a key role, and what we ended up seeing was that Sigurdsson would be tasked with sitting on Jorginho, Andre Gomes would track the movement of Kovacic, and then you had Allan in a deeper position, ensuring that no Chelsea players were able to drop off into pocket space to receive possession. Ultimately, that was the gamble that Everton were taking by allowing Christensen to push forward, as if he was able to bypass that Everton front five, then Werner, Havertz, or Hudson-Odoi could drop deeper, but that's where the back three and Allan do play a key role by applying tight pressure, with Allan looking to sweep up and make challenges. How Everton could avoid that is by having Sigurdsson stepping into the path of Christensen, but that does leave Jorginho free. What Sigurdsson could do is block off the passing lane into Jorginho, or you could have Allan stepping forward to close down the Chelsea spare midfielder. Along with ensuring that Jorginho and Kovacic couldn't build attacks from the back, they wanted to ensure that Allan could track the movement of Havertz if he dropped off deeper, to ensure that Keane wouldn't be dragged out into deeper positions. If you look at how they are set up now, you have Sigurdsson blocking off the passing lane into Jorginho, and then Allan stepping forward to Havertz dropping off into that pocket of space. Kovacic in particular did look to evade the pressure of Andre Gomes by dropping off deeper in towards the inside left position, or at times even looking to split Christensen and Zouma to get on the ball so that he could look to play positive passes. And the other successful avenue that Chelsea were able to identify to bypass this Everton press was to slide the ball out to Reece James, with Timo Werner sitting in between Lucas Digne and Godfrey. That ensured that Digne couldn't push forward to close down the Chelsea right wing back, and the way for Everton to overcome this is by having Godfrey sticking tight on Werner and then having Digne push forward. Here we can see an example of Everton's press, with Sigurdsson blocking off the passing lane to Jorginho and stepping towards Christensen and forcing the ball out to Azpilicueta, who is instantly closed down by Richarlison. What you could also see here is Allan stepping forward to close down Jorginho if the Chelsea center backs bypass that press. Shortly after that, we witnessed Sigurdsson stepping to Christensen and blocking off the passing lane to Jorginho. You have Kovacic shifting to that inside left position, and you could see Gomes tracking his movement. But this time we see Allan holding his position to monitor the movement of Hudson-Odoi, who shifted away from Godfrey. And lastly, we could look to a time where Everton baited Christensen into carrying the ball into their own half, and you could see Calvert-Lewin and Sigurdsson leaving their markers to apply pressure as they forced the Chelsea center back into a pass for Hudson-Odoi, dropping off Holgate as Allan shifts across for cover. But here you could witness Holgate stepping tight to Hudson-Odoi to poke Christensen's pass into Sigurdsson to help Everton regain possession. Ultimately, the key player in this game was Havertz, and it involved his movement into those deeper midfield zones. What we ended up seeing was that he often looked to shift towards the channels to receive the ball rather than dropping towards the halfway circle, where Allan could step in towards him and occupy his threat. And what you ended up seeing was that he would drop off into those zones to receive the ball, and there were three things that Havertz could do. One would be him carrying the ball forward and sliding it out to the wide players in Alonso, Hudson-Odoi, Werner, or James. He could drop off deeper to drag out Keane, and then that creates a gap for Werner or Hudson-Odoi to break into. And we also witnessed Havertz shifting out towards the channels to combine with his teammates to get them into advanced positions. Ultimately, what you expect from Havertz in this central role up front is to drop off deeper to combine with his teammates, and then he looks to break forward into attacking positions around the box to get on the end of attacks. So with Allan unable to track the movement of Havertz around that midfield zone throughout the game, it was Keane's responsibility to follow the Chelsea center forward. Here you could see Alonso fizzing the ball across Iwobi's pressure for Werner on the touchline, and he nods it across Gomes for an unmarked Havertz ahead of Keane. When Havertz receives the ball from Werner, you could see Gomes attempting to shift across to apply pressure, while Keane holds his position, thus providing the Chelsea attacker time to slide the ball into the Holgate-Keane gap for Werner's run beyond the right center back. While Havertz plays a quality pass into the left channel for Werner's run, Holgate opts to clip the German down to disrupt the attack, which earns him a booking. Here we could see Jorginho carrying the ball ahead of the Everton midfield bank, with Havertz dropping into the halfway circle to pull out Keane. And it's Havertz's movement that creates space for Werner's run across Godfrey, but Jorginho's pass is slightly overhit and Holgate clears danger. And then lastly, we witness Christensen sliding the ball around Kovacic for Havertz dropping into a pocket of space between Gomes and Calvert-Lewin, with neither Allan or Keane within close proximity. That results in Havertz carrying the ball towards Everton's third, with Gomes doing a good job of recovering to track his run, and it results in the ball being dropped off to Alonso in an advanced position that pegs back Iwobi. However, it was in the second half, when Everton were forced to change the game, that Havertz proved to be more of a threat. The reason being was that now Sigurdsson was stepping forward with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin to press the Chelsea back three. So to ensure that Jorginho didn't have time and space to dictate the tempo of the game, Allan was forced to step forward to close him down, and that allowed more space for Havertz to drag Keane out of position, as Havertz punished Everton for their pressing breakdowns. Here you could see an example of Sigurdsson now stepping to Christensen, but it forces Allan higher up the pitch, thus providing Jorginho additional time when he receives James's squared pass. That additional time enables Jorginho to bypass Allan's press with a pass to Havertz, dropping towards the halfway line to drag Keane out of position. As you can see here, Havertz's movement now creates a pathway for a quick 1-2 with Werner to exploit the space created by their movement, as Keane and Godfrey are dragged out of position. Werner's pass places Havertz free to carry the ball into the vacant space beyond Keane, which presents the option to slide the ball around Holgate for Hudson-Odoi breaking free on goal. However, Havertz opts to slide the ball to Alonso to place the wingback in a 1v1 with Iwobi that results in Keane clearing his low delivery into the box. Minutes later, we witness another pressing breakdown from Everton, with Sigurdsson stepping to Mendy, and the goalkeeper bypasses him with a pass to Christensen, who locates a passing lane between Allan and Gomes, stepping tight towards Jorginho and Kovacic. Once again, it's Havertz serving as the link to bypass Everton's press, as he checks towards the ball to drag Keane into the Chelsea half, with Kovacic beginning to run beyond a ball-watching Gomes as a passing option. If we speed up the attack, it's Kovacic holding off Gomes' press to slide the ball to Hudson-Odoi, dropping off Holgate, and he locates Havertz in a pocket of space ahead of the retreating Keane, while Allan attempts to recover. When Havertz receives the ball, he's swarmed by the Brazilian, but he's able to hold off the pressure to shift play out to James. And as you can see, James attempts to play a quick 1-2 around Dean, with Havertz, who made a forward run beyond Allan towards the Everton penalty area. But once again, another wide combination involving Havertz results in an Everton booking, as Dean blocks off James's run into half space. Ancelotti's alternative was to shift to a 4-3-1-2, but Everton still encountered issues with the wingbacks pushing forward. So what we ended up seeing from Everton was that they did have Davies stepping towards Kovacic and Allan stepping towards Jorginho, and if the ball was shifted out to James, then Andre Gomes would shift across to close him down. However, in this example, we witnessed Zuma sliding the ball across Sigurdsson for Havertz dropping into the Allan Gomes gap to lay the ball off to Jorginho in a deeper position. Jorginho immediately shifts play out to James breaking into Everton's half, and that's where you could see Havertz making a forward run beyond the midfield trio towards the penalty area. As Gomes attempts to close down James's forward run into the final third, you could see Havertz signaling for the ball as he makes a run between Godfrey and Keane, but the Chelsea right wing back opts to pick out Hudson-Odoi. While James's delivery falls into the path of Pickford, what should be noted here is Havertz still making a run towards goal for a rebound or a potential Hudson-Odoi squared layoff ahead of the 6-yard box, following his link-up play with Jorginho. But as you can see, that was the biggest issue that Everton had following this tactical shift. If Chelsea could bypass Everton's front five, they would have a 5v4 advantage down the right-hand side if James pushes beyond Andre Gomes, and then you have Werner, Hudson-Odoi, Havertz, and Alonso running at the back four. We witnessed this issue in the build-up to the penalty that Havertz was awarded. As you can see, Davies and Allan are ahead of Jorginho and Kovacic, with Kovacic dropping off into an inside left position to receive the ball freely. But when you look at Everton's backline, all four defenders are occupied by Werner, Hudson-Odoi, Havertz, and Alonso. What we end up seeing here is that Hudson-Odoi does drop off a bit deeper to pull out Keane, and that's where you see Havertz making a run across Godfrey into the space behind Keane to get onto the end of Kovacic's wonderful ball. And when Havertz runs onto the Croatian's pass, we see Pickford rushing off his line to take down the Chelsea attacker, thus resulting in Jorginho's penalty that killed off the game. Hi everybody, thanks for watching, and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the interview show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the Interviews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.